from the Ticats Audio Network. This is Ticats Today with Louie B.
Yes, it is Ticats Day for a Friday, June the 10th, 2022. Thanks for checking us out on the Ticats Audio Network, where we are just about, I don't know when you're listening to this, but as of the time I am speaking these words, we are just over 24 hours away from the Ticats opening their 2022 season, and I am just pumped, amped, juiced, and cannot wait for tomorrow's game. Of course, wall-to-wall coverage on Ticats Game Day is available right here on the Ticats Audio Network. It'll start with Tiger Cats Game Day, hosted by Courtney, Steven, and Mike Daly. And that all leads into Tiger Cats pregame, presented by Journey Rewards. Brand new host this year in Bubba O'Neill, alongside Andy Fantuz. And, of course, RJ and Luke back again with the call at 7 o'clock. Should be a great game. And right here on the Ticats Audio Network is where you're going to want to listen to every second of the action. We got a great show for you. Coming up, we're going to hear from Coach Orlondo Steinauer as he spoke earlier this week. We'll hear from Don Jackson as well. Very pleased to have Chris O'Leary from CFL and CFL.ca stopping by as well. A great night to kick it off last night, the 2022 season. Congrats to the Stamps. I mean, that was a great game. Big second half comeback. Hate to see stand back go down. Just as a fan of the game, because he was so good last year, and it really sucked. One of those negative things on an otherwise great way to start the season. Now pressure's on tonight for the other two teams to get it going. It's the Ottawa Red Blacks taking on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and of course Saturday's game, part of a doubleheader in which Edmonton will take on the BC Lions. So great weekend of football, and thanks for starting us here with us on Ticats Today. Speaking of which, a brand new episode of Speaking with the Enemy just dropped today as well. I caught up with Britton Gray, who covers the Saskatchewan Roughriders for CJME in Saskatchewan. So wherever you found this show, you can go check that one out as well. All right, I hold in my hand the depth chart, how the Hamilton Tiger Cats will line up tomorrow night against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And let's start at the offensive line. At left tackle, you got Travis Vorncall. Left guard, Brandon Revenberg. Alex Fontana gets the start at center. Right guard, it's Jesse Gibbon, backed up by Kay Okafor. And at right tackle, Chris Van Zyl, ready to go. Big number 56, Kyle Saxelid, backing him up. At quarterback, no questions about it this week or this season. It is number 9, Dane Evans. Sean Thomas Erlington is the starting running back. Jake Burt, the starting fullback. At receiver out wide, you got Stephen Dunbar Jr. and David Ungermer III. At slot, you got Tim White, Braylon Addison, and Pappy White. Kicking will be Mike Damagala. At punting, it is a new face on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, as it is Larea making his CFL Ticats debut. Simon Larea handling the punting duties, as Joel Whitford has been placed on the one-game injured list. At long snapper, it's Gordon White, and handling the kicking and punting return duties, it's Lawrence Woods III, who had the big 99-yard touchdown return in the preseason finale last week against the Argos in Guelph. Take a look at the defense. It's Malik Kearney getting the start at DN. Micah Johnson is the starting nose tackle. Dylan Wynn is at DT, and Julian Hauser at the edge. The linebackers, wow, no surprise here. Simone Lawrence, Jovan Santos Knox, and Cameron Kelly. And in the secondary, it's Jamal Roll at the corner. Alden Darby Jr. at halfback. Tunde Adeleke is the starting free safety. Richard Leonard back in the black and gold. He's at the half. And Ciante Evans is at the corner. That's how the Ticats will line up tomorrow against the Rough Riders. For more, let's hear from the head coach and president of football operations, Orlondo Steinauer.
We'll see. I think every year you're trying to figure out who your football team is and what you do well, but I always liked road trips, both as a player and a coach personally. I think it does give you an opportunity to bond. We're going into one of the most hostile environments. They're a solid football team. They're well coached, 3 phases. But that's what you want. I'm looking forward to it because we need that. We need to know where we're at currently outside of preseason, outside of practice. So the schedule is what the schedule is, and we're going to play whoever's in front of us. If this was at home, we'd be happy, but because it's the road, we're equally as happy. Like I said, the goal is always to win, right? It's, we've seen growth in certain aspects of our football team that we think need to improve, and we feel like we've addressed it. So, obviously we keep those internal because it's not just always a player or a scheme. Sometimes it's a collective on some certain things that we keep in-house that we're working on. So we'll obviously want to see improvements in that area. Other than that, we want to find a way to have one more point, and that would be the theme the whole year. Yeah, obviously you're not able to mimic a team environment or the other team's, stadium environment completely, but you can do a decent job of preparing them for those type of things, especially for the offense. We know it's going to be tough, but that's just what it is. That's something to be excited about. That's something to embrace. And so we're gonna run head on into anything that comes in our way and see where we end up. Yeah, no, it's we know where the Grey Cup is and we know the end goal, but we don't end watch around here. We're more committed to the process and what that looks like to us and the stepping stones that it's gonna take to get there. And so yeah, the fact that we play our first game there just happens to be that. And so yeah, there's no messaging as far as that at this point.
And that is the president of football operations and head coach of the Ticats, Orlondo Steinauer. Let's hear from Don Jackson. Donnie J had a chance to catch up with him after practice earlier this week, getting pumped up, ready to go to start this season. He's expecting a big year from himself. And I seeing the work he put in this preseason and in the training camp, I'm expecting a big year from him too. And here's what he had to say after practice this week.
I feel great. I think O came in with a plan to kind of keep us feeling good. Everybody's having fun. Everybody's flying around. Me personally, I just feel blessed being here. I feel blessed to be in this situation to play the game that I love. So I'm feeling great, man. I mean, the perspective doesn't change. I think last year just kind of built calluses for things moving forward. I just try my best to just be fluid with everything that's happening, be okay with how things are unfolding. There's no end-all, be-all story, so I just know however the day proceeds, I just kind of got to be fluid and roll with it. And if I do that and keep that mentality, I think that's what helps me get through every day. He's a servant leader, man. He's actually speaking a little bit more than he did in the past. And that's what we need from him. He's a great leader. He's coming out there hitting his spots. His footwork looks great. I'm really excited to see how he leads this team moving forward. It feels great. It feels great to be able to, pop this thing off, and especially to go to Sask in a place that's loud, probably one of the prestigious stadiums in the CFL. So I'm excited to get there and go be there with my boys. And we putting the us against the world thing on our back. And we're excited to go. You got to be that type of player to even be in this offense. I think Tommy could tell you that. Tommy would tell you that he believes in finding guys that can do multiple things in multiple places, and we try to make sure we have that fluidity with everyone throughout the offense. Like, we got to make sure the tight ends and fullbacks can do what we do. We can do what the receivers can do. The receivers can do what we do. So I've never in my life been in an offense that has so much fluidity and creativity. But it's where I feel home.
It sounds like more homework though for you.
It's all good though. It's a little homework, but nothing wrong with a little pressure.
And that is Don Jackson as we caught up with him this week. And remember, you can go to Ticats.ca to catch full post-practice scrums. Right now, very pleased to be joined by the managing editor of CFL.ca, Chris O'Leary. And Chris, we got our first taste of regular season CFL football last night, and we'll get to the Ticats, we'll get to the other matchups this week. But wow, the CFL really starting 2022 off on a right note with that game last night.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I think in terms of openers, you can't ask for much more. I was trying to think quickly last night as I was watching what the last really strong season opener was. And I feel like Montreal and Saskatchewan might have had an overtime game like 10 years ago to start the season. I think SJ Green had that crazy diving end zone catch. I believe that was a season opener. But I mean, I think if you're thinking back that far, It's probably a good sign, and puts that game in elite company, even if I'm wrong and that game came later in the season. I don't know. But no, it was great. It was super entertaining, and I think kind of like you alluded to as well. After such a long off season, and there's just I feel like a lot of stuff up in the air this year. There was a lot of talk about rule changes, if the game was going to look different. We of course went through the CBA negotiations, and you worried about a delay with that. I know I certainly worried about a delay with that. It was the absolute last thing I wanted, and it was just nice to like get things back on the field, and then to just see that kind of a game should make you feel really good. It was just nice to see. I think even on Twitter, like just the sentiment around that game was just so positive. And as we all know, Twitter is often a cesspool of negativity. So if you can triumph in there and find positivity, I think you're doing something well.
Yeah, you bring up season openers, and the CFL. You guys do a great job of putting out these little stat packages and putting out some numbers. And one of the numbers that jumped out to Steve Milton and I at practice this week was the Ticats are 2-11 since 2008 in season openers. 2-11. I mean, that is a statistical anomaly for how good this team has been in that stretch. What is it about the Ticats in their first game that they just can't seem to figure out lately?
No, that's a good question. I mean, I think I don't have a direct answer, but I will say that it does show that week one is, for all the hype and anticipation, it is just week one. It's one of 18, right? And I think the Ticats have been a great example of just that, of teams that come through those 18 games, 14 in last year's case, and they're in the thick of it, and a very good team. I don't have a direct answer for it.
Come on.
I think it's going to be another good game tomorrow in Saskatchewan. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, very interesting. My short answer after a long rebel, I don't know.
It is the one thing about the Ticats. It was last year. There was last year they had that amazing drive, and their first drive of the game in Winnipeg, they go down, they get that touchdown.
That's right.
And then the rest of the game did not go their way. But this Ticats team, what are you looking at with this group going into 2022 in terms of maybe unanswered questions that need a little more polishing? What are you looking at for this team?
It's funny. I was thinking about it. You mentioned Winnipeg, and I feel like those two teams are just so linked, obviously, through the last two Grey Cups, and in my mind, until somebody kind of knocks them off their respective perches, they're the two best teams in the league. And I think both of them, and I think we'll focus on Hamilton, but I think both have evolved this year, and probably more pronounced in Hamilton, just with Dane Evans taking over, and Brandon Banks moving on. I think you're seeing that shift of the younger, talented players that started to establish themselves last year on that Ticats team are kind of taking on that official kind of leadership role now, and taking those next steps. I'm excited to see that. And I say that thinking about the offense. I feel like the defense maybe is a little bit more veteran, and just looking at the depth chart before we started talking, I was like, man, there's some depth there, right? Like it's this is a team I think that's taken some big steps in terms of its roster, and made some big changes from last year, but I think also has moved forward, and it's a new look, and I'm excited to see how that comes together. And definitely excited to see Dane Evans as that unquestioned number one starter. I know we've seen him in long stretches before, but just to see what he can do potentially with 18 games, and where he can take this team, and if he can get them over that hump that's kind of stood in the way the last 2 years, I think is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
You mentioned the Ticats and the younger leaders. I mean, the wide receiver room jumps out to me because 100%. Braylon Addison is the most experienced guy. Pappy White, Tim White, Stephen Dunbar Jr. had great first years last year, and now they're going into year two. And with their, Ternowski injury hurts them, and Durant injury obviously hurts them too. But I know they're confident in what David Ungerer can do. So that position specifically, what do you think? How does that look with a lot of those guys back for year two here?
Well, I think it's only a positive thing, right? And kind of like what I was saying before, where you saw glimpses from these guys. Like I think of somebody like Pappy White, who had a pretty small role in the offense and sort of established himself as a returner. I just see there's so much room for guys like him and the guys that you mentioned as well, just to kind of blossom into it. I mean, I think it's probably expected as well, right? That you don't let Brandon Banks walk if you don't think that you've got the guys in place behind him to fill those shoes. And I'm excited to see that, and I think that's really the theme. I think especially for that offense, it's just there's so much opportunity. There's room for guys to go out and just establish themselves as like not just a good second option from last year, but like the new guy, the new number one option. And I think that's kind of there for the taking. And that's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, any one of them can be one of those. I had somebody reach out to me. They did a CFL fantasy draft, and they said, what's your thoughts on Stephen Dunbar Jr.? I'm like, well, I think he's number 3 on the depth chart, but I love that matchup. Like if Stephen Dunbar Jr. is going up against the 3rd best guy in the secondary, like, I don't know. I like that matchup. Should be a lot of fun to watch. Chris, I know you're busy week 1. I know you got to I know you've already made your CFL picks. I know you got to respond to all the Twitter haters. So I'll let you go. Thanks for doing this, buddy. Enjoy the weekend full of football.
Absolutely. You enjoy the weekend too.
My thanks to Chris O'Leary for joining me, and my thanks to you. Thanks for staying with us all week. I am back on Monday, and don't forget, pre-game coverage tomorrow with Clint Bubba O'Neill and Andy Fantuz kicks off at 6 o'clock right here on the Ticats Audio Network. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. I am back on Monday. From all of us here at the Ticats Audio Network, I'm Louie B. Hoping you have a great day and a great weekend, and go Ticats, go.
Ticats Today can be heard every weekday, and we would like to hear from you. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Have a question or an opinion? We want to hear it. That's gameday@ticats.ca. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.